cool tech, that one cool Pokemon or one cool strategy to catch everyone off guard, because maybe with like only solid play, it's not possible to beat that many accomplished opponents. But Aaron was able to do it with a solid team that he had practiced before, he had used in tournaments before, and now he's actually undefeated today since he also beat Sejun without losing a game here.
Yes.
So we're jumping into the first game once again, guys. Like, this is the last opportunity to tell everyone about this happening. Oh,
it's Magnezone! Oh my gosh, Magnezone has the only Pokemon in this whole tournament that we didn't see, and now it's on the field, and all I am thinking is, why is it here? What does it want to do here? What is Shoma doing?
It is a best of 5, so he can just use this opportunity. And the Tapu Lele also, underspeeding the Tapu Fini.
Psychic Terrain is
setting up the Psychic Terrain. Wow, so a lot already going down before those players already input their move. But what I was trying to say is, go out ahead. Like, check out Twitter. Use the hashtag Geico Gaming. Tweet out about this. Tell your friends, because this is like, there's nothing that gets better than this. Aaron Cybertron Zheng against Shoma Honami here. And dude, okay, Magnezone. Why did he bring the Magnezone?
I don't know. I know he wants to be in the zone, but I don't know why he brought the Magnezone. What's interesting here is, I think that because Intimidate activated before Misty Terrain, and Shoma can't protect his Tapu Lele, and he doesn't have Intimidate to weaken his opponent's attacks. So I think Aaron with his Life Orb Arcanine could double in. Oh, Aaron's hands are on his head. Oh, he does have Intimidate. I'm a fool. Yeah. Gyarados coming in here. Aaron, his hand is in front of his mouth. He says, "I may have made a mistake," but will he have made a mistake? The answer is Flare Blitz coming out into
probably. You gotta
Lele, okay.
Lele, okay. So that doesn't do way
less, but that's Life Orb Arcanine Flare Blitz. That did way less than I expected.
Yeah, but this is super bulky Lele. The Moonblast is coming out.
Will does double the Lele.
Double up into the Lele. Is it enough for the KO? It is not.
Special attack drop. That's huge.
So now the Specs Psychic will come out in Psychic Terrain. That should still be able to get that knockout here on Arcanine, as it does. But still, Aaron, of course, wanted to get that first turn knockout. However, all that bulk coming really clutch, as well as that Intimidate, and Shoma really showing off that he knows his damage calcs there.
Yes. Wow, that was an incredible turn 1. Porygon 2 coming in here. Aaron's Porygon 2 does not actually have Thunderbolt, but I really appreciate this choice from Aaron to bring Porygon 2 in the back. You know, Shoma's team doesn't have a ton for Trick Room, but maybe that's why he brought Magnezone, Marcus. Maybe that's why he has Magnezone in this matchup. Maybe it's like good in Trick Room, and it's probably able to threaten that Tapu Fini in Trick Room. You know,
it also threatens the Porygon too, because I mean, sure, it can recover, but what is Porygon going to do back to the Magnezone? And also Tapu Fini can't really do too much damage to it, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what type of item that Magnezone has, by the way. Choice Specs, which we have seen on Gavin Michaels' team,
that's right,
not really an option anymore. So it might be something like the substitute leftover set that you used in London before.
That's an excellent point. You know, when I saw Magnezone, I was like, okay, maybe Choice Specs. But you're right, that Tapu Lele has the Choice Specs, so there's no way that so could Magnezone. But Waterfall is coming out here into the Porygon too.
Wow,
okay,
so that's
a lot of damage.
Really critical hit, yeah.
He stays in. He's going to get a Choice Specs boosted Psychic off into Psychic Terrain, but who is it going into?
It is at -1, so Aaron probably feeling a little safe here with the Fini. Psychic is coming out, probably, doubling up into that Porygon, and thanks to Porygon's tremendous bulk, though, it is able to set up the Trick Room, and now Aaron is actually in a fantastic spot, because he could, if he wants to, he can go ahead and just recover off all the damage that Viera invested in here by going for the double target. He already has the boosted Tapu Fini on the field, and just based on the team, I think Magnezone might be the only thing on Viera's team that can even take on the Fini and Trick Room, and maybe that's why he decided to bring it out here in this set.
Yes, exactly. And so what I'm kind of thinking here is that does Viera have anything that can stop Gigalith plus Porygon 2 at the same time? I don't believe he does, right? Like Ice Beam Rock Slide just threatens everything on Aaron's side of the field. If he has Earthquake, of course. If he doesn't have Earthquake, then the Magnezone obviously is the answer to that one. But yeah, it just seems like Viera doesn't want Trick Room to be up. And with Tapu Fini getting a boost there, I don't know. I think things are starting to look a little bit rough.
Yeah, so there we do see the recover, and SHADEviera once again not switching back his Tapu Lele. It is at -1 special attack, but still it does have that boost here from the Psychic Terrain, and going for another Psychic into that Porygon 2, not really doing too much. And let's see here, Aaron decides to go after the Gyarados. Okay, so he wants that Tapu Lele to be on the field until the point where he's sure that he wants to remove it. We do see the Citrus Berry activated on Gyarados and Earthquake coming out. Wow. So actually, Viera wants to like dedicate the pace of what is happening to the Tapu Lele. He wants to be able to get that free switch and knocks out his own Pokemon, and I think that's a clever decision here.
That was actually a really good play. I think he realized that Lele was dead weight. He didn't need it. What he does need to do is start threatening KOs before he loses too much board position. So choosing to use Earthquake, he kind of says, okay, if you stay in and you attack with your... The only way you're going to go to my Lele before I get a Psychic off is if you go for an attack with your Porygon 2 and don't recover, because my Lele underspeeds your Tapu Fini. So he says, okay, either way, I'm getting rid of my Lele, and either way, you'll still take a lot of damage because you will still take a Choice Specs boosted Psychic and an Earthquake. So I really agree with that play from Shoma. And here it is again, Shoma taking so much time to think about what Pokemon to send in, but he's not really thinking about which Pokemon to send in. He's thinking about what he's going to do the next few turns. And Aaron, unfortunately, doesn't know what Shoma's 4th Pokemon is, so he can't predict what is going to happen from here on out. So Magnezone, is it going to do something, Marcus? Do you think it's finally going to do something?
So the question really is, like, how strong is the Thunderbolt going to be against that boosted Tapu Fini? Because, I mean, it's pretty clear that Gyarados won't knock out the Tapu Fini, right?
Oh, no,
so,
yeah.
Then what could he have in the bag? Maybe the Pheromosa for Poison Jab, but for that to work, like, he would definitely need to stall out the Trick Room. I do think Pheromosa could be a decent choice here, just based on the Pokemon Aaron has, but for that to work, you really need to be able to stall out the Trick Room, and at the moment, it doesn't really look like Viera has all the resources he needed. Porygon on Aaron's end doesn't really look like it's the most threatening Pokemon, so I'm actually a little bit surprised that Viera continuously targeted down. Maybe he's not exactly aware of what type of moveset that Porygon 2 has, but so far, yeah, he's always been able to just recover off all the damage, and we're just seeing the same thing here. So
based on how these Pokemon are, oh god,
is it?
I think that's Steel.
No, is
Electric? Oh no, who knows? Oh no, who knows? Who knows? I don't know what it is.
I think it's electric. It is electric.
Yeah, Gigavolt Havoc, yeah. Gigavolt Havoc coming out here. I think based on the way that he's playing this, Marcus, I think he has Garchomp in the back. I think that's why he keeps putting on so much pressure onto the Porygon 2.
Okay, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Wow, Electrium Z Magnezone.
How much does it do? Oh, it's enough.
There are kids watching Shoma. Are you kidding me? Shoma, and he goes Dragon Dance.
Oh my gosh. Trick is not over, right?
No, he still has 2 turns left. Trick is not over at all. I cannot believe this. Marcus, there are children watching Shoma,
Oh my gosh.
And it's not.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Viera really just showcasing why he is so good. Okay, so
neither of these Pokemon have an item. Muck can only Poison Jab, and it can't do anything to Magnezone.
Yeah. I was like a little bit like, why is he targeting down the Porygon? But yeah, excellent point. He knew that he didn't need to go after the Fini because he had that Z move available. Wow. So, and he must have known that would knock out. I wouldn't be too shocked, honestly, if that was based off of Thunder instead of Thunderbolt. But yeah, we probably will find out about that at a later point. So, Muck coming in, no items, or at least none of them that you can knock off here anymore. And yeah, that Muck not really proving to be clutch. I would assume that he wanted to have that Muck against the Choice Spec Sabolele, but that is already gone. So Muck, yeah, a little bit awkward position here, and it looks like somehow Viera, even though it looked like with that Tapu Fini he was in such a strong position, turned the tides here. Viera did, and now looks to be in a pretty strong spot here.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Aaron to get rid of that Magnezone without losing all of his Pokemon. And an amazing protection from Viera. I really agree with that play going. This is probably into Porygon 2. Yeah, I really agree with that play because either way, he's going to protect either this turn or the next turn. Yeah, that was really nice. Porygon 2 now, if it wants to stay in here, I mean, of course it stays in here, but if he wants to attack here, then he's probably going to take another Thunderbolt and be in range from whatever Aaron or whatever Shoma has in the back. And if he wants to recover, he's still going to take a ton of damage from Waterfall, and he won't be able to get rid of that Gyarados without a crit and maybe a poison, depending on how Shoma's trained his Gyarados. So that was really impressive by Shoma. We now see why Magnezone is such a powerful Pokemon, and that was really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and Aaron really doesn't have any way of dealing with the Magnezone with the Pokemon he has on the board. Even the Tapu Fini, now you got to think okay, what can Aaron even do? I mean, of course, Garchomp and Arcanine would be the 2 Pokemon on his team. But yeah, both of them don't really have a good time against the Gyarados. So yeah, that Gyarados Magnezone combination coming out from Viera proving to be pretty good here against Aaron's team. And you gotta think about, do you think he prepared that combination specifically for teams like Aaron's, or does it just happen to work out here in this scenario?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of tempting to think maybe he did prepare for specifically for teams like Aaron's.
And there's another Dragon Dance. Okay.
I feel like Waterfall might have been better there, but Shoma's the one in finals, not me. So, wow. Do you think +2 Waterfall plus Thunderbolt picks up the KO here?
On Porygon?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yes, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe. Also, what's important to note is that some Gigalith do carry Earthquake, but I think Aaron might not have Earthquake on his Gigalith. So
I don't think so either. So
yeah,
we're seeing the waterfall.
and
And
a lot. It might actually survive. I think it has a chance. If he gets Trick Room up again, he has a chance. Oh, I think it was close.
Yeah.
That was close.
So wow, yeah, Muk being the only Pokemon left. Let's see how much damage does the knockoff do. Yeah,
That wasn't bad. That's
not
like a 3
being
KO.
boosted, but still, decent damage, I would say. So, Magnezone is like not a Pokemon you generally know all the damage calcs for, right? So
Yeah.
it's also playing like a little bit because, I mean, if you're Aaron, you probably think like, okay, like I have to knock it out with, say, like Earthquake from Garchomp or Tectonic Rage or Flablets, but it's hard to tell whether, say, Muddy Water plus 2 Tri-Attacks would be enough to knock it out or something like that. So
Yeah.
that uncertainty that Viera brings to the battle here, especially since we haven't seen the Magnezone being utilized by him in this tournament at all, is definitely something that gave him a huge advantage here in the first game, and I'm pretty sure that Aaron did not expect that to happen, just being like blown away by the Magnezone. So, yeah, dude, where does Aaron even go from here?
I think what's important to note is that if he had protected on the turn where Magnezone went for its Gigavolt Havoc, he probably could have been able to take a Thunderbolt thanks to his +1 special defense. So the surprise factor there really factoring in well for Shoma. The other thing to note, I think, is that Magnezone, maybe part of the reason why Shoma's using Magnezone is because it does such a good job walling all of Porygon 2's options. You know, like Porygon 2 normally run normal type attack, ice type attack, electric type attack. They don't run anything that can hit Magnezone. So maybe just having a really strong, like Shoma's team, it looks like his plan for Trick Room at first, it looked like it was kind of like use Pheromosa and Oko Porygon 2, but it's not really consistent, right? Maybe his plan is actually like use Magnezone to be bulky under Trick Room, threaten the thing next to Porygon 2, put on pressure, and then go from there. I don't know. It's like I don't really understand how his team functions, but it's really scary to look against.
Yeah, and you really got to think like what are the Pokemon that are, I think that especially that Gyarados Magnezone combination was something that really did a lot of work in this game. So like what are the Pokemon under Trick Room that threaten both, or that threaten Gyarados and are not threatened by Magnezone, for example, or vice versa? Because I think like that combination with knowing that the Porygon 2 on Aaron's team does not have Thunderbolt, all of a sudden it becomes super tough for him because even if he has, say, his Garchomp, as we mentioned, all the Arcanine out, Gyarados can come in, intimidate them, and then set up with a Dragon Dance. So yeah, Aaron is kind of forced to play with that Trick Room, but as we saw here, Magnezone actually outspeeding Aaron's Tapu Fini within the Trick Room. So yeah, I don't know. Like he definitely needs to switch something up, and it's gotta work against that Magnezone a little better.
Yeah, do you think he brings Muk again? I feel like that's the Pokemon that might be wanting to be left on the bench.
Yeah, I would be really surprised because even against like the Gyarados, where at least that has an item he can knock off, it's not super great, and then against the Magnezone and the Garchomp, it doesn't do too great. But then again, if you don't bring Muk, you got to think about like, wow, what happens if all of a sudden Viera positions his Tapu Lele that we also saw is faster than the Tapu Fini on Aaron's and in the Trick Room.
Yeah.
Like what happens if he positions that a little better? We did see the special attack drop on the Moonblast turn 1, and you got to keep in mind that the entire time Tapu Lele was still on the field doing damage, and all that time it was at -1 special attack. So eventually when Viera said, okay, now it's the right time to knock it out and bring out my Magnezone. Like, what if that Tapu Lele comes from the back at full health without that drop? Then all of a sudden it launches like Choice Specs, Psychics in Psychic Terrain against Porygon and Fini all day long.
Yeah.
And so maybe even that Trick Room and setting up with Fini which on paper looked like a perfect plan here for this matchup, it all of a sudden doesn't really look like a good plan at all.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so part of the reason why Aaron keeps leading Arcanine Fini is that Intimidate covers the physical attackers, and some of the main special attackers in the format are the Tapus. So by removing their special attack boost, that's part of the power of it. But in this situation, Tapu Fini is faster than Tapu Lele, which means that he can't lead it effectively. And still get terrain control. I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we might see like maybe Tapu Fini coming in the back, maybe something like a Porygon lead here from Aaron.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. He could even bring Muk up front if he wanted, but okay.
He's just going again with Arcanine Fini, just like he did in the first game. And let's see, is Viera switching up anything, or are we just seeing this? Nope. He has his plan. He knows what he wants to do. Magnezone Tapu Lele.
Okay, what's also interesting to note here is that many Magnezone actually choose to use the ability of Sturdy, which basically means that if Magnezone would be knocked out in one hit by an attack, it instead hangs on with 1 HP. And that's a really, really powerful tool to have, because basically Magnezone here, if Aaron goes for like Flare Blitz Calm Mind or Flare Blitz Moonblast, Magnezone could hang on here, and we don't know if it's Magnet Pull or
Sturdy. It could be Sturdy, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's such like the fact that Shoma's preserved his Magnezone and not revealed it means that like he actually is in a big advantage here turn 1 in terms of information. Like Shoma can probably guess most of the options that Aaron could do, but Aaron doesn't know whether or not Shoma's Magnezone is sturdy, which affects a lot, you know?
So I think the question you gotta ask yourself now, like depending on what Aaron has in the back, if he has that Garchomp, then that would be a way to deal with the Magnezone. But if he doesn't have it, then he cannot really afford to lose Arcanine turn 1 again, just like he did in the first game. I do think that Flablitz and Moonblast was a pretty safe call of him, but we're seeing the Flablitz going into the Magnezone this time, and it is in fact sturdy. So did he go for Muddy Water?
He's gone for Muddy Water. He's gone for it. He's gone for it. Let's see if he does it. Oh, does he connect? He does.
And it connects. Okay, so he gets that knockout on the Magnezone that gave him so much trouble in the first game. Will also connect with the Tapu Lele, not doing as much damage, of course, but yeah, also not able to get any accuracy drops. So this Psychic will knock out the Arcanine. So yeah, now all of a sudden it would probably be better for him not to have Garchomp in the back, just because that would increase the strength of his Trick Room mode.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't really need to worry about that Magnezone anymore. However,
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you think maybe Shoma has Pheromosa in the back, and that's why he was okay losing Magnezone and gaining Arcanine? I think that's actually an option here.
Yeah, I do think so, because the first game he really demonstrated how, okay, like on paper, again, it looked like SHADEviera didn't have a proper plan to deal with Trick Room, but now in the first game, he really demonstrated, okay, like, this is my plan. So I wouldn't be super surprised if Pheromosa came in, though then again, it's also, like, very, very risky. However, in a best-of-5 situation, I think you can definitely go for, like, a risky call on what your opponent could do if it's able to get you, like, an easy win. Looks like he didn't do that, though, for this game at least, as he's bringing out that Garchomp right here. So, with Porygon 2 being on the field from Aaron, that looks to be in a decently safe position, but then again, you cannot forget that Tapu Lele is Choice Spec, and Garchomp has the Groundium Z, so
I think a double up will KO.
Yeah,
honestly.
would KO the Porygon, exactly.
So he's still exerting so much offensive pressure. Aaron tried to not lead with his Porygon to make sure that he had the positioning turn 2. Aaron is probably predicting a Groundium Z and a Psychic here. Gigalith comes in as the 4th, so that's very interesting.
Okay, so that's kind of what we were expecting, since, as we were saying, Muk really not doing too much, and Gigalith just improving his Trick Room mode a little further. And there is that Groundium Z coming out.
But, okay, here's the situation. If this OHKOs the Gigalith, which I think it should, if it knocks it out in one hit, Psychic, which probably was aimed at the Gigalith, will be redirected into the Tapu Fini. Which means that if it doesn't Calm Mind here, it's going to be taking an enormous amount of damage from that Choice Specs boosted
and
Psychic.
even if he does, he cannot just set up Trick Room and then, like, utilize Fini under Trick Room, because that Tapu Lele will actually outspeed his Fini in Trick Room.
Yes.
So Tectonic Rage will get a one-hit knockout into that Gigalith. With a critical hit, of which we're not super sure if it mattered too much.
Yeah, probably
not. He does go for the Calm Mind, though. So that will reduce the power of Psychic by a little bit, but still, don't forget, guys, this is Choice Specs Psychic from Tapu Lele in Psychic Terrain.
So that's pretty strong.
Yeah, that does a lot more than you would expect to do on a +1 Fini. Wow, doing so much damage here, in fact. And now, sure, the Z move is already burnt now, so he can go for a Protect and Trick Room play, for example, but then we do have the Tapu Fini being slower than the Lele in the Trick Room, and I do think that once again, Viera somehow was able to play him into a position where, just his Tapu Lele being slower than the Fini, I think that's such a big deal here in this matchup.
Yes, I could not agree more. Like, it seems like he's pinned Aaron in the sense where, like, he can go Poison Jab Psychic, and I don't see how Aaron's going to stop it, because he can go for an Ice Beam. That's kind of the thing here, but I don't think it should KO unless, no, it almost definitely won't KO, because we know that Shoma's Garchomp is trained to be relatively slow and relatively bulky. So, yeah, I think if you're Shoma, you have to be feeling pretty good about your position right now.
Exactly. So again, Aaron could set up the Trick Room here, but I think it might be a little too late. And yeah, that Tapu Lele and Magnezone combination just exerting so much like pressure just with their board presence. Aaron could basically decide which one he wanted to double target the first turn, but chances are that he would lose one of his Pokemon in return, and then that can just like already set him up to be in such a weird position where the Porygon 2 just does not have the offensive pressure to deal with a Choice Specs Lele, because the main thing you need to go for in those battles is just really like out-damage your opponent.
Shoma! Shoma, this is supposed to be a PG stream! Oh god, who did he Psychic? Okay. If he called that...
But I don't like either way. I think that was a pretty safe play, because even if the Porygon set up Trick Room, the next turn he has the Lele, which then outspeed the Tapu Fini and will get the KO with Psychic. Now he's doing it a little bit differently, going for the Sword Dance with his Garchomp, boosting up its attack stat, doubling it essentially. But do you think does Rock Slide KO the Tapu Fini at this point here?
He doesn't have Poison Jab. You're right. I forgot.
No, yeah.
Oh gosh, that changes everything. Yeah, I think +2.
It could be close. I mean, it could. It really depends on
how they're trained.
It could also miss, so that would open the opportunity for a comeback here, because Tapu Lele, after the Tri Attack, might now be in KO range for a Moonblast from Aaron's Tapu Fini, especially after that Calm Mind. Maybe even like Muddy Water should be enough to get the knockout here.
Maybe you switch to Gyarados and Earthquake here. Maybe you don't take any chances.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe you just Earthquake either way. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I think so
good
too.
Play by Shoma,
okay. He does have the Gyarados in the back.
Yeah.
So Aaron probably trying to go for the double protect here. That would be like the only option he has at this point. Going for the double protect and
fails. Poor Aaron. Yeah, that could have turned things around, I think.
Yeah, because then it comes down to like whether Porygon. I don't think Tapu Lele was in Tri Attack KO range yet.
Yeah, but it maybe
he was able to maneuver around, maybe reverse the Trick Room at a crucial point. But yeah, okay, he still tried to go for its odds. Try to go for that double protect, but of course it has a high chance of failing. And Viera really with not something I have expected at all, just showing us of how to beat the standard bulky Trick Room team that Aaron used to give his opponents so much trouble in the previous rounds. But Shoma coming in here from Japan with his crazy team and showing off why the Magnezone is there and why the Tapu Lele is so slow.
It just, on paper, it makes no sense. Like, you feel like Shoma should be losing this matchup just looking at the Pokemon, but Shoma showing such a ridiculous awareness of how to play this game. I don't know. It's like he thinks on another level, and it's so impressive. And Marcus, something we have to talk about is Aaron's now down 2 games to 0.
Yes.
So he's on his last. He
had the right turn 1 too. Like he knocked out the Magnezone that gave him so much trouble in the first game in the first turn. You know.
Yes.
Is it going to be any better? I mean, what needs to happen for him to even have a shot at taking a game here?
Yeah, and what I wanted to say was that you have to think mentally this must be so hard. He knows there's so much ahead of him. He has to beat Shoma not once, not twice, 3 times without dropping a single game. Yeah, it's just such a mountain to climb. And what's cool about Shoma's team that we didn't talk about is the ability to use 2 Z moves on the team. He could have gone for Z move turn 1 and knocked out the Arcanine or the Fini, and then since he lost his Magnezone, he brought in his Garchomp, and normally it's counterintuitive, right? You don't think you want Z moves on 2 Pokemon. You think, okay, only 1 because that's optimal, right? You only get that way. You're never in a situation where one of your Pokemon doesn't have an item. But for Shoma, it's working so well.
Also, something that's really important or interesting to note about the 2 Pokemon that he chose for his Z moves, Magnezone with its ability Sturdy kind of already has that Focus Sash built in, you know. So I mean, we were thinking about what item do you even use in that? I mean, Magnet Pole is something that sure you can use, but in this tournament, by the way, there was not a single Celesteela and very little Steel types in general. So Magnet Pole not really too crucial. However, Sturdy, as we saw, didn't make too much of a difference since Tapu Fini was able to get the KO with Muddy Water anyway. But you already have that Focus Sash built in with Sturdy, so there's not really too many great items, but and for Garchomp, that Z Crystal also changes a lot. Usually Garchomp is something that always needs to watch out. Okay, what's next to me? Can I go for a free Earthquake? Do I need to protect my partner? Do I need to switch in a flying Pokemon or something with Levitate? However, with Groundium Z and Tectonic Rage being so powerful off of Earthquake, you can just focus your attention on one target and your partner is basically free to do whatever. So I think both of those Z moves actually make a lot of sense in a way that they not only do they do a lot of damage, but they also really add something to the Pokemon and what they can do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so incredibly clever of the players. And let's not count Aaron out, okay? He played so amazing in his semifinals. He played amazing in his qualifying match versus Sejun to get here. He hadn't lost a game until he got here, so I definitely think that he's still in this one. He's a very fierce competitor, and I feel like he just has to think about the game in a different way. You know, he has to see things not for what's in front of him, but for a couple turns ahead. But I think he definitely has the skill to do that.
Yeah, certainly. So now, of course, both of them are probably trying to come up with a plan of what to do. I think for Shoma, he's in pretty much the same situation as he was in the semifinals against aDrive. He just won 2 games doing basically the same thing. So why would he want to switch things up? You know, I don't know anything. I don't know any reason. I'm pretty sure he's going to go with Magnezone and Tapu Lele again. So the question now is, on Aaron's end, what do you do about that? Is there, he's tried leading off with Tapu Fini Arcanine 2 times. It didn't work 2 times. So I'm sorry. I'm not sure if it's going to work eventually, because either the Magnezone is going to get off a strong hit probably the first turn, or the Choice Specs Tapu Lele, and you can't stop both.
Yeah.
And it looks like Aaron cannot afford to lose a Pokemon that early on, because then in later stages of the game, because of like how the speeders are matching up, Trick Room doesn't just instantly win him the game, and in the end, the Garchomp of Viera is just like was always able to clean out the field. So Aaron really needs to come up with a different strategy, but I'm not even sure what he could even attempt. Maybe just bring Tapu Fini in the back, maybe leading off with Muk again.
I think I understand what Aaron was trying to do last game. He was trying to set Trick Room up for his Gigalith. If he got Trick Room in at the same time as Porygon 2, Ice Beam Rock Slide threatened the whole team. But unfortunately, Shoma didn't let him do that. Now, this is an adjustment. He brings Garchomp Arcanine. Have we seen Garchomp yet? We haven't, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. What do you think about this?
Yeah, first game he brought the Muk, second game he brought the Gigalith. So maybe he still does have the Tapu Fini and Porygon in the back. Yeah, I do think it's very, very intelligent of him to not lead off with the Tapu Fini straight away, because one of the great things that Fini has going for it over all the other Tapus is the fact that it can really function outside of its terrain as well as like inside of it, you know?
Yes.
But if you take away the psychic terrain from the Tapu Lele, it's basically like it gets the damage reduced significantly, since psychic terrain is a 50% boost to all psychic type attacks.
Yes.
So having the option to bring in Fini at a later stage in the game and get rid of that can be super crucial. But of course, before that, he probably wants to either eliminate the Lele or the Magnezone to just like stop taking so much damage. Because again, losing a Pokemon turn 1 is not something Aaron can really afford of doing. So yeah, let's see what can he even do here to...
Oh no, Aaron, oh no. Yeah, like just like you said, game 1 is that Garchomp and Arcanine both are Pokemon that are really good against Magnezone, so he led both of them, but Gyarados is such a safe switch, and even though Aaron has Wild Charge, so it depends on if he capitalizes on this. Poison Jab coming out into Lele.
Did he double target that?
He could have. Wild Charge. Oh, it's probably Lele. Oh, Aaron, you had the right idea. Oh, it was such a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Maybe Psychic won't KO the Arcanine here. Maybe it'll go into the Garchomp.
Yeah, it's Psychic. No, that definitely.
Oh yeah, that's out of there. By Arcanine. Oh no.
So he had the Wild Charge option. Oh. But then again, even if like I think for Shoma, like you can definitely take a risk here, like being hit with I don't know, taking the Wild Charge in the Magnezone. He's up a couple of games, you know. So
yeah,
just going for the like. Switch into his Gyarados here, knowing that, like, yeah, sure, I mean, you have to commit really, really hard to knock out my Tapu Lele here, and I'm not sure if you can do that here, because, once again, if Aaron loses this is over, and Shoma just wins.
And we're seeing the rewards of training his Tapu Lele to be so incredibly bulky. Like, normally with offensive Lele, they invest a lot in speed, but it looks like Shoma has taken all of the investment in speed and put it into bulk. And it really has been paying off like such huge dividends from this tournament. And I think Aaron still has a chance at this. I don't think it's necessarily over. Maybe he has Gigalith in the back, and if he can find a way around that Magnezone, Rock Slide Ice Beam just looks super strong against Shoma's team. But it's like what's cool here is I think this is the first situation, well, since last game that Porygon 2 can actually set up Trick Room. Earthquake actually comes out. That's not what I was expecting at all.
I think he was probably anticipating
Magnezone
switching into Magnezone. Yeah. Oh, he doesn't get the KO.
No.
This is super big.
Oh,
that is
no. That did a lot of damage. Psychic is going to do really a lot of damage, and I'm not going to lie, it should be a bit. Is it enough? Oh, okay. No
okay, it's not. There. But still, that is not what Aaron wanted to see here. And now, yeah, it looks like he has to invest in attack to knock out the Tapu Lele, so he cannot go for the recover, which means that if Shoma wishes to do so, he can just double up the Porygon to ensure a KO here in that slot.
Yes, I don't think there's any way that Aaron can stop it except for switching out, and then whatever switches in should be KO'd. I don't think he has any good switch-ins.
Yeah, I mean, he could go into Fini or into Muk. Yeah, but still then.
Yeah, and if he psychics the Garchomp for some reason, which I don't think he will, but he has the option to, I don't know. Like, it's going to be pretty rough.
Yeah. Aaron's team just really like capitalizing on those switching capabilities and the natural bulk of his Pokemon with healing items and so on. So, but it looks like it's really a little bit collapsing after losing Arcanine turn 1 in all 3 games so far.
Garchomp's out.
Yeah, he tries to make something happen here with the Gigalith. So now he finally does have that Gigalith under Trick Room that he like really, really needed, but it might just be a little too late. He goes for the recover, but again, if Shoma calls that, doubles up into the Porygon, that should be a gun Porygon.
Yeah, I mean, if Psychic's going to pretty much KO whatever it hits. Porygon, it might be enough. It's not. Okay,
it's not, but if you double up into it, and he did, so Porygon will go down, meaning that Aaron only has 2 Pokemon remaining. And yeah, his hopes of being the first Pokemon Invitational presented by Geico Gaming champion here are getting grimmer and grimmer. However, let's not forget, he does have the Gigalith into position now. So, I mean,
where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way, Marcus. And I actually really like that play by Aaron, because he recognized that the way to get Gigalith in safely was and KO Tapu Lele was to use Sand. So he has Rock Slide, he has Garchomp. If he gets a Rock Slide flinch on Magnezone, I don't think this is over. Like, Shoma doesn't have really great ways, at least from up front, in terms of getting rid of Aaron's Garchomp, right? Like, neither Gyarados nor Magnezone should have a lot. But there's the Garchomp. Okay, so this is interesting.
Yeah, so the whole tournament, or basically like a huge part of the tournament, was always like opponents trying to stall out Viera's Tailwind. Now it's a little bit like, it changed a little bit, since now Viera is the one trying to stall out the Trick Room that Aaron set up here. With Gigalith and Garchomp, interesting enough that Garchomp is actually not in the like verse position, even though it's not the fastest one on the field by any means. It should still be able to take any combination of attacks. And if that Gigalith is able to do a lot of damage to the Gyarados and maybe, as you said, flinch the Garchomp, then yeah, this is definitely not over here.
What's also interesting to note is because Shoma's Garchomp is so bulky, this isn't a speed tie. This is Shoma's Garchomp will be moving before Aaron's Garchomp, which could be really big. And we saw Tectonic Rage. It did get a critical hit game 1, but Rocky MC coming out. Aaron's trying to pick up KO probably on Shoma's Gyarados.
Yeah, that is the Continental Crush here.
Yeah. That should be the end of Gyarados.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he needed to like hope for the Rock Slide flinch here, but then again,
it's Garchomp.
It's Garchomp. Wow.
Oh wow.
Okay, didn't expect that at all. Probably calling a Protector coming out from the Gyarados, but that is not
a lot.
Yeah, but that is not going to like bring it close to KO range, and we're seeing that Garchomp now actually being
going to do a lot of damage. Oh no. Oh, Aaron.
We've seen it KO the Gigalith before, and if that is the target he wants to go for, with a critical hit, we will finally find out whether that was important or not. But there is the Tectonic Rage going into the Gigalith.
Is it the core of the earth? Is it going to be enough?
It'll do a ton of damage either way, and looks like with that super effective hit, Gigalith goes down, and I think with that, it's pretty safe to say also the hopes of Aaron are crushed in a way. He was the one applying the Continental Crush on his opponent. Didn't work out the way he probably hoped it would. Also going for a Fire Fang, so trying to predict the Magnezone switch and probably protect here. However, Viera not going for that, just straight going for attack X, knowing that his Garchomp can operate under Trick Room. And wow, I think the one thing that Viera really showcased here is that if you're using like a couple of Pokemon that look fast, so to say, but you train them like defensively and slow, you can use them against your opponent in their Trick Room, and it really worked out super well here.
Yeah, it was extremely impressive play by Shoma. I mean, like, the fact that his Tapu, like, he kind of pinned him both, where, like, he wanted to set Trick Room to support his slow Pokemon, but then when he set Trick Room, it felt like his fast Pokemon, like Garchomp and even Tapu Fini, were just under so much pressure. So, really well played by Viera, and another 3-0. So, he really showed why he's such a strong player. And yeah, that was so impressive. I don't know, like, that was like an incredibly impressive showing from both players. I'm sure Aaron's not happy with that one, but that was still like a really great set.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. SHADEviera, Shoma Honami from Japan, will be the first champion of the Geico Invitational, brought to you by ONOG. Wow. What an incredible finals game. Even though we didn't really get to see like that best of 5 beauty with game 5 and everything on the line. But Viera, with very intelligent play, you mentioned it countless times, really coming in there, using a totally different approach of what everyone was thinking about how to counteract Trick Room, not using like he wasn't even trying to prevent the Trick Room, he just let it happen, but then he had ways to beat Aaron back. So yeah, really impressive player coming out from it. And so he's winning this tournament, winning the $500, and his team, I mean, come on, like, that's not something any of us have ever seen before.
No.
So, well, also really props to his team building skills. and just what an incredible event here from him.
Yeah, that was really, like, honestly, like, I feel like that's a level of play that I don't think I've seen in a very long time. Like, that level of play was almost unprecedented, and he's a very talented player. So right now we're actually going to be throwing to a break. We can't interview Shoma because of technical difficulties, but we do have Zheng, who will be joining us very soon after this break. We'll ask him a little bit about the match, and then we'll close out the stream. So hang tight, guys. We'll be right back after this break.
Stay tuned.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Pokemon ONOG VGC Invitational, brought to you by Geico Gaming. I'm joined by my good friends, Markus Stadter and Zheng. Aaron, I have to ask, man, how are you feeling after that match?
It was rough. I mean, I wish I could have given a better show, but honestly, I can't be too sad because I tweeted right before I went into the finals, but Shoma is actually the one world champion in the last 5 world champions that I've never played before. So to get to play someone as high caliber as him, like, I think I've played most of the top players around the scene at this point, having been around for so long. But Shoma is someone I've never played against, and he played that like really, really well. I'm amazed at some of the predictions he made, and the Magnezone, like, we finally saw it come out, and that was really scary. Like, I didn't see it coming game 1, and it was just so overwhelming going into the second and third games.
Yeah, like that was like, I feel like with that match, it felt like it wasn't about what was on the field. It was about like several turns from them. It just seemed like so overwhelming. Like, I agreed with a lot of the plays that you made, and like Shoma just, I don't know, like he's just like, he's really, really good. So I don't think you should feel too bad about that one. He's a really impressive player.
Yeah, definitely. Just thinking about the matchup again, because at first, like, just looking on paper, we were thinking like, hey, like, if you just set up Trick Room, you should be in a decent spot, right? But then it turns out that he has that Magnezone and the Tabulele being so slow. But then we were trying to come up with any more ideas of like, what can you even do? Because Trick Room just seemed like such a straight answer to almost all of his Pokemon. But then those were speed tiers, and the fact that he had the Electric Z on the Magnezone, like, was that going into the set that you expected at all? That combination of Lele Magnezone?
Yeah, so I actually want to point out, like, I looked at it on paper too, and going into the matchup, I was like, I think I definitely have an advantage here, and my goal should be to set up Trick Room. But first of all, doing that is a little bit hard. I led Arcanine Feeny the first 2 games because it worked really well against Sejun, and Sejun's team was somewhat similar. The reason that works is because if he leads Pheromosa, I get the Intimidate off immediately. If he leads with Lele, so that I think Lele being slow was a really, really big factor.
Yeah, we thought so too.
Yeah, because if it weren't, then Psychic isn't doing nearly as much damage. So I was really caught off guard by that. And that made things a lot harder because, like, in Game 3, I didn't bring Feeny because I knew Lele was coming, but Feeny's kind of dead. Like, it gets maybe a Muddy Water off or a Calm Mind off, but, like, Magnezone can just one-shot it with the Z move, and I can't do too much to Magnezone. So, like, I think another really good thing that Shoma was doing is that he was just constantly pressuring Porygon 2 with double targets while Porygon couldn't do much in return. So game 1 was when I realized, okay, I probably should have brought Gigalith over Muck because Muck was kind of useless in the end. So I was kind of kicking myself there. Game 2, I did bring Gigalith, but he played himself into a perfect position where, he was able to just knock out my Gigalith switch in. I think if I got the double protect off, it could have been really close there in the end because once Trick Room went up, then Feeny plus Porygon, I think, could have overwhelmed this team. But game 3, I made the wrong prediction the first turn. I thought he'd switch the Lele out into Gyarados. Instead, he switched the Magnezone out. So I don't think I played that well. Like, the first game, turn 1, I just, like, didn't consider the Gyarados switch in, so I was fully expecting Lele to go down. But I think Shoma also, like, used all the resources on his team really well, and he made it so, like, even if Trick Room went up, he could, kind of put me in a really tricky situation because so many of his Pokemon were actually slower than mine.
Did you happen to notice, because when I was looking at, after game 1, I looked at your team and I was like, it doesn't seem like Shoma has a lot to stop Gigalith plus Porygon 2 because Rock Slide hits everything so hard, except for the Magnezone. But then game 2, you got rid of Magnezone turn 1. Is that kind of what you were thinking? Like, if you can just get Gigalith and Porygon 2 in position, you just pressure everything?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping for in the second game. But the reason why I think Specs Lele is really strong in Shoma's team is because, Porygon 2 is one of those Pokemon that normally can survive like 2 attacks at once. But a combination of Specs Psychic, Under Psychic Terrain, and a Z move is just like, you can't survive it. And so not having options to deal with that was pretty bad. I think maybe I could have like brought Feeny in the third game. And to me, when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, it should be really easy to just get Porygon 2 and Gigalith out at the same time. But evidently, like, that wasn't the case. And I feel like I had to cover for the Pheromosa option as well. He actually never ended up bringing it, but I was just really scared of it, obviously, because of its ability to one-shot it. I remember yesterday against Enosh, he ended up adjusting by bringing Pheromosa in a game after not bringing it. So I figured it might have been coming, but he decided to go with what worked with him, and he made some really good plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, we never saw the fourth move of that Pheromosa, but I have a feeling it might have been Ice Beam. With Ice Beam, it would have hit like so much, especially without a healing item on your Arcanine. It definitely feels like a high jump kick could do so much. Like, Poison Jab hits Feeny for super effective. Ice Beam, Garchomp, High Jump Kick into Gigalith and Porygon too. Like I definitely don't think you were wrong to bring Arcanine in that set because without Intimidate, it could definitely do so much damage.
Yeah, and I think another thing I wanted to point out is like the Sturdy on Magnezone made things 10 times harder because he basically had 2 items like a Focus Sash and a Z move, and that's really, really strong. Like this team wasn't. It looks like it has ways to beat Magnezone. I do have Earthquake on Gigalith as well, but I was never in a position where I could really get Trick Room up and sweep with both. And with Gyarados shuffling and Intimidates was also just a big concern. So this team normally relies on like pivoting yourself into a really good position and going from there. But I like can never figure out like what that position was against Shoma because he was just making really good switches, and Lele being so slow and so bulky made things really hard for me, which is kind of weird because normally you would think, oh, it's slower and I can just attack before it moves. But with the Intimidate, like that really saved it.
Yeah, we also noticed that like it felt like for Magnezone you wanted both Garchomp, like either Garchomp or Arcanine, but Gyarados had such a free switch into like those guys, so like it made it a lot harder. Yeah. So I think it was a really hard matchup. I don't think you should like feel bad at all about.
I think I definitely could have played a little better. I wish I could have forced it to a 4th or maybe even a 5th game, but I feel like I figured things out a little bit too late, and I was just trying out these combinations, and it was definitely pretty rough. But I think it's a testament to how well built Shoma's team is. Honestly, the Magnezone is such a clever tech because of all the Tapu Finis that are around, and you saw that it was able to pick up that knockout, a 1-hit knockout, even after the Calm Mind, and that's just something like we obviously saw you use Magnezone like earlier on the season, but kind of a different Magnezone. Gavin's Magnezone has a choice specs, but the Z move with Sturdy, really, really cool combination. And it makes a lot of sense, like, because with Sturdy, you essentially get a free Focus Sash. And I think that's just so clever.
Yeah. On that topic, you already mentioned that you thought that the team composition of Viera's team, that it was just like pretty clever. Since Viera is not someone that we get to see like super often, can you try and like find some words about his play style or his team building, or like what you were thinking about like going on into this final against him and the way it played out?
Yeah, it was. I think part of it was the way the team matchup worked, but it was like so hard to predict him correctly. Like I don't think I really landed any of the predictions that I was going for, and that made things extra difficult. But I mean, I think this just highlights how good of a player Shoma is overall. Like his team choice is really cool because we see a lot of these Pokemon, but he has very unique kind of choices. The Citrus on Dragon Dance Gyarados, the combination of Swords Dance and Gyarados pressuring all at once when Garchomp's out. A Garchomp's super bulky as well, so it can take hits. Tapu Lele super bulky. There's the Tailwind option there from Drifblim. So overall, just a really, really strong team composition, and I think he executed it perfectly. It's rare to see like a hyper offense team be able to kind of pummel down a Trick Room team that well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and his team was so like, even though it didn't have obvious answers for Trick Room, the way he played it was really, really good against it. And actually, we have a statement from Shoma here about the tournament. So Shoma says to all of you guys, I'm very happy that I could win out of this group of top players. Drifloon and Magnezone, sorry, I think this should be Drifloon. Drifloon and Magnezone were very, very powerful and was the reason I could win. If there is another tournament like this, I would love to participate and win again using fun Pokemon. So that's our statement from Shoma. What a good guy.
He doesn't only like settle for the win, he also wants to win with fun Pokemon. But yeah, really, really interesting team composition and incredible like showcase of skill here from Shoma really coming through. So before we just like want to run down and go over the whole tournament again, one question to you, Aaron, specifically. You finished in 2nd place here in this tournament. Of course, we all know that you were looking to get a victory. I mean, you won the Melbourne Challenge a couple of weeks back, but like just getting another like really big victory is something that was on your list. So now you got 2nd place. What do you think that means for you personally, and what do you think that the whole tournament also like means to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really happy just that I've even made it out of my group because I honestly would have predicted Wolf and Sejun to make it out. And it was an honor even being part of this tournament. So I was glad I could make a deep run. Honestly, I was really proud of how I played against Sejun and Enosh today, but I kind of ran out of steam against Shoma. And I think the Magnezone, just like for Sejun and for Enosh, I was able to prep the matchup a little bit, like think about everything in Theorymon. And for Shoma, I had like a specific strategy. And then the Magnezone just like threw me off guard completely, and the slow Tapu Lele, and those two I just like didn't really know how to adjust. And I'm a little bit bummed out, obviously, because it was like a best of 5. So I was thinking, I should be able to make the right adjustments. But just incredible play from Shoma overall. And I think I'm happy. The last 3 tournaments, like I played in tournaments the last couple of weekends. I got second at a mid-season showdown, top 16 at Anaheim Regionals last week, and then in second here again. But obviously, like the one thing that's disappointing is I lost in all of those. Like I ended up making it to like the elimination bracket, but then it didn't end up winning. And to me, it's all like at this point, it's really trying to get like another big title, like you mentioned. So for this though, like I really came into this just trying to play some great games and go against some cool people, because Sejun's someone I always looked up to and, you know, have never really played against too much other than one casual game in 2014. So to be able to play Sejun, you know, aDrive, who had a phenomenal performance, and then Enosh and Shoma, like I feel like really happy because there are a lot of great games that Pokemon played. And I think anytime, even if you win or lose, when you go against top players, like there's so much you can learn and take away from. So I don't know, this tournament was really cool, and I'm glad we gave like the viewers a really cool experience too, because we had some phenomenal sets, honestly, like some of the best sets in Pokemon I've ever seen. And at the end of the day, like win or lose, can't be too sad about that.
Very well said. So we're just gonna do a quick recap, guys, before we close out the stream. Yeah, so basically, do you want to do a recap of what happened in the matches? Sound good to you guys?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So in Group A, we had myself, Aaron, Sejun, and aDrive in round 1 of pools. As you can see here, so round 1, Aaron is able to beat Sejun 2-1. I then lose to aDrive 2-1. aDrive then beats Aaron 2-1. I then lose to Sejun 1-2, and I'm eliminated. And lastly, Aaron beats Sejun, making it out of the group and moving on to the top 4. So Aaron and aDrive, Cybertron and aDrive advance from Group A, with Sejun and myself, Wolfie, being left behind. In Group B, we have Viera beating Ogloza 2-0, Yoshi beating losing to Human, 1-2, then Human beating Viera 2-1, and then Yoshi beating Ogloza 2-0. Lastly, Yoshi beat Viera.
They lost. Yeah,
that's backwards. So Viera beat Yoshi 2-1, and those are some incredible sets. Do you guys have a favorite set that you weren't participating in, that you watched, that you would like? I don't know, like what was your favorite set of the group stage?
Definitely yours against Sejun, if I had to say.
Really. That was a good one.
Yeah, I think so too. That was definitely a good one. As for sets that I played myself, actually I had fun like playing all of them. I kind of feel like I don't know, like that also gives me motivation. Like barely losing against Enosh and against Shoma to like prepare better for the next time and maybe play a little better, because I mean like those opponents are the ones that you want to beat. You know, I mean. Like that's the big stage, and usually we only get that during Worlds or like internationals nowadays. Yeah. But yeah, just like having this opportunity, really cool. So now here we have like one last overview here for Group A, where we can also see a little bit about the teams. Of course, Wolf, do you want to elaborate a little bit on the decision of why you brought Executor to this tournament specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, I wanted to use Executor in this tournament. I was like, you know, this is like kind of a cool opportunity. Like, I believed, I had faith. I said, you know what, maybe he looks bad on paper, maybe he feels bad in practice, but I believe, like, I want to believe. And so when I was testing, I was playing on Showdown, and Executor is really good against a certain group of Pokemon in the metagame, like Tapu Koko, Garchomp, Celesteela, Arcanine, Kartana. All those Pokemon he has a very favorable matchup against, and he struggles a little bit with like Mach and Feeny and Porygon 2 and Ninetales and Lele. And so I was like, yeah, like on Showdown, the majority of the teams I played against were teams of the former composition where he had like a good matchup. So I was like, okay, I'll build a team that does well versus that. But as you can see, this tournament, there wasn't a single team like the kind that I was playing on Showdown. So I really wanted to use Executor. In some situations, he was actually really good. Like he was amazing versus Celesteela, for example. But he wasn't good enough here to perform very well. I also could have played better. Like, and I didn't. I think Mudsdale was a huge mistake. I made a lot of wrong, like little calls that ended up being really costing me. But yeah, I think what's interesting to note about Group A is that everybody had Arcanine, and 3 players had Feeny, and 1 player had Lele. So I think that's like kind of interesting to see how much Arcanine. 7 of the players in this tournament, or was it 6? 6 had Arcanine and 7 had Intimidate, with only Ogloza, I think, not having Intimidate on his team. So lots of like really interesting similarities across the board.
Yeah, definitely. Then Aaron, do you also? I mean, you've used this team for quite a while now. Changing things up a little bit here and there now with the Gigalith instead of the Ninetales. I mean, I know you already talked about this a little bit, but do you think that at the moment this is like the most solid approach for best of 3 play, or is it just something you're the most comfortable with?
Yeah, I think the way I see it is it's just something that every time I lose a set, I like it's never like just RNG. Like there's always just bad play on my end. So if I have a team where it's not like I'm losing because of team composition, it's because I'm playing poorly, then I'm pretty happy about that. Honestly, Shoma was the first opponent I've played in any like best of 3 set, or in best of 5, I guess, where I really felt like my team was just kind of limited in the options. And I think part of that was just he played really well, and I put myself in risky situations right from the start. But one reason, like I went to a mid-season right before, back when I was home, and I like used the edited version of my San Jose team, and I just like ran into the most random stuff, and I was using really fast Pokemon, but my opponents had even faster Pokemon, just like random scarfs on Cocos and stuff like that. And I was like, in a lot of games, I was just in situations where like I would like lead, I couldn't figure out a good lead matchup, and then I would just lose right from there. And so that really taught me a lot, where it's like with this team, I feel like I have like tons of lead combinations I can always play from there. And I kind of like playing a little bit more defensively. It can be frustrating sometimes, but I brought it to this tournament mainly because I actually didn't have any time to build a team this week. I was just like super busy with school and exams. And I was like, you know, I bet other people are going to try stuff that they haven't used much before. So at least I have the comfort level going for me like in this tournament. I think that really paid off a little bit, but going on into the future, I think I'm not sure it's something I'm going to stick around with, or maybe like just completely move on to a new strategy or idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it obviously worked well for you, so there's nothing wrong with that. Let's take a look at the Group B teams actually before we do anything else, if we're able to.
Yeah, I think one thing from Group A, like two of the coolest things I saw were Dan's Togedemaru, who I thought was actually like a pretty big offensive threat with Zing Zap and Encore. And then we also had the Gudra with the weakness policy on Metagross. Bulldoze, you know, one of the really cool things we've seen from this tournament. And in Group B, Enosh actually had Bulldoze on his Assault Vest Garchomp as well. So that was really neat. Yeah,
absolutely. There was a lot of cool sets in Group B. Like, I mean, Shoma's team is obviously off the wall, and Ogloza is a bit as well. You know, definitely like some unconventional teams there.
Yep.
But Enosh's use of Substitute, Tapunium Z, Tapu Fini was really scary. Calm Mind, Lele, Sub Kartana, AV Bulldoze, Garchomp, Toxic, Firium Z, Flare Blitz, Arcanine, and then it was just standard Porygon 2. But that was a threatening team, I'll tell you that much. Like, there were so many tricks. Like, everything except for Porygon 2 was like really, really scary to go up against. So I feel like that was a really scary situation to be up against, and props to you for being able to hold it down against him, because like that was a crazy team.
Yeah, you know? I think Marcus's team, honestly, I thought was really cool too, because I think that's one of like the first legitimate uses we've seen of Alolan Persian, and I think like it's cool that. I don't know. I love VGC because every time there's like a big tournament, someone brings like a new Pokemon and like figures out a way to use it. And, like, so like Drifloom's become more relevant recently. I know Rogoff got top 4 at Anaheim Regionals last weekend, and now we saw a very different set from Shoma with the Rain Dance, the Will-O-Wisp, like, but his was like so offensive too, and so that might make players think like maybe I want to use more offensive Driflooms in the future. And so yeah, I feel like everyone just had really cool components on their teams. Mine may be a little bit more standard than most, but we saw some like just overall phenomenal team building overall, and I think like that's what you should expect when you have some of the best players in the world in a tournament like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely. Also, Alex coming in, unfortunately, he also didn't really have the best time to prepare since he was a little sick going into this. But coming at like with cool stuff like that Quickclaw, Mudsdale, and also the combination of Lilligant and Tapu Bulu. I mean, I played against him, and usually the plan against Lilligant Torkoal is to like change the terrain, like set up Misty Terrain with your Tapu Fini, but then all of a sudden I was like doing calcs and I realized, oh wow, like in grassy terrain, Leaf Storm actually wanted KOs plus 1 special defense Tapu Fini, and then that like ruined like all my plans, and so we had to come up with something totally different. So yeah, unfortunately, of course, the system we're using here is a little more punishing than Swiss rounds because we only had 8 players here. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see any more of that, but that definitely also was a like pretty interesting team there.
Yeah, and actually, guys, we have a big surprise for you. I don't think we've announced this yet, but every single team in this tournament is going to be released tomorrow as a QR code. A new feature in Pokemon Sun and Moon is the ability to download or to scan a QR code and then use the team for yourself. So we're really, really excited about that because it means that if you liked any team in the Invitational, you can use the exact same 6 Pokemon without having to get them yourself in-game. So we're really, really excited about that. Those will be out tomorrow. I think there should be I don't know where more information would be. It'll be on Twitter for sure. But yeah, I'm really excited about that because if you want to try Shoma's crazy team or Marcus's team or Aaron's team or anybody, any person's team in the Invitational, if you want to get into VGC but don't have the resources to build a team yourself, you can just use a QR code and from any one of our teams here, and you'll be able to get all the EVs yourself, all the moves, all the items, and use it to practice and to play against your friends. So yeah, that's a cool thing that we're doing with this tournament. I don't think we announced that before.
Yeah, so once again, any of the teams that we will be talking, like having just one last look against all the awesome participants we had in this tournament and what they were bringing here. Because, like, so if you want to use aDrive's team, for example, because I think a very big story that we haven't talked about, what we can take away from this tournament going into the future, because, of course, a lot of people were following this and a lot of people saw what was doing well. I do think that Gyarados might have a place, like, in the future of this format. Because the 2 Gyarados we had in the field, aDrive and Shoma, like both of them only lost when they were paired up against each other, with Shoma then taking on the whole tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that both of those really like just showcasing how Dragon Dance Gyarados, if you set it up properly, also using the guard jump next to it, was just like something that I don't know. It's a very basic combination, but if you pull it off and you know how to position yourself, it can be super threatening.
Yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, we're just working through the teams here now, guys. So you can get a last look if you missed anything for the teams that you will be able to download tomorrow. There were so many cool things here. 2 Pheromosa, a Gudra, Executor, Togedemaru, Drift Blim. I always forget what it's called. So many cool things.
But yeah, is definitely something I'll try out. Yeah, you mentioned that all those weakness policy combination. And then, yeah, you mentioned it before, Alex not having any Intimidate Pokemon on his team. Didn't really like need it though with the bulk that the Porygon 2 already had. And I don't know, I think that Sun kind of Trick Room Nihilego archetype is popping out here and there, and that's never something you want to play against. I don't know how you guys feel.
No, yeah. Not my favorite thing to go up against, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we have Marcus's team up here. I think some of the cooler components of your team, definitely I think you're using Scarf Kartana, right, with the Razor Leaf?
Yeah, but it was like super bulky, yeah. But I don't know, it let me down a little bit, so maybe I won't do that again. But I thought Nomalium Z with Nature Power was actually kind of cool, and I haven't seen that before on Tapu Koko at least. But I didn't get to like show off the Twinkle Tackle or anything like that.
That was still really cool though. Like I really like that tech, like because I didn't know you were using that. Obviously, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!"
Yeah, and Enosh's team probably like in terms of on paper looks very standard, but it felt like every Pokemon just had something crazy on it. Like he actually was using apparently Scope Lens Kartana.
I had a feeling actually. I heard him talking about that. Yeah.
It was Sub-Scope Lens Kartana, which is so crazy, and that was just one of the sets. Like everything on his team was really interesting.
That guy's nuts.
Shoma's team here. I really like the Gyarados point you pointed out. Like I thought that Shoma played Gyarados and Garchomp really well because he basically always put himself into positions where it's like, okay, I can safely like Earthquake with one Pokemon, or for example Garchomp, or even Gyarados, which had Earthquake as well, and I can Dragon Dance or Sword Dance together, and that's just it's so smart.
Yeah, it was really good. So I think we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon here. We'd like to say a couple more things before we go. First of all, thank you so much to ONOG, One Nation of Gamers, and Geico Gaming. This has been, again, an absolutely unreal experience for those of us in the community, and I know that the people watching really enjoyed it as well. So, again, we are so incredibly grateful for this opportunity, and
just give it one final push. If you like this, and I think that there is a chance that something maybe similar to this, I don't even know, but there is a chance that tournaments like this can happen in the future. So if you want to support that cause, then go on Twitter, use the hashtag Geico Gaming, or tell them what you like, tell them what you didn't like. Maybe there's stuff that we could improve on. Maybe there's something you want to say, like, I don't know, different format, different players, whatever, as long as it's possible. Yeah, of course, we don't know what will happen in the future, but I do think that this was a great success, especially in terms of like viewership, in terms of like the battle. Like I felt like every single set, even if it was a 3-0 in a best of 5 set, every set had something about it that makes me want to go back, and like really hope that you guys enjoyed the whole thing. And just one last time want to really, like, if you like this, then just let people know, because that's what we need to know.
Yes, and thank you guys for watching.